What's up? I'm Brianna Ivy, and this is the Hear from a Student podcast. Marlow, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you
Happy.
doing?
Good. I'm good. It's Sunday. We're almost back to the beginning of the week, but that's
Yep.
okay. So, introduce yourself to everyone. Tell us your name, what you're studying, and where you're from, and where you did your undergrad.
Okay. So my name is Marlow Durbin. Right now I'm doing a PhD in chemical engineering at Georgia Tech. And I'm hoping to graduate next year. So I'm most of the way through, 4 years out of five.
Okay.
I did my undergrad at the University of Alabama, also in chemical engineering. And I grew up in North Carolina, so I've really
Okay.
been all over the Southeast. But
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yes. Okay. We're going to circle back to the PhD because people who go get their PhD are always amazing to me because I just could not even imagine. So, but
Hopefully I can give you a little idea of, what chemie
yeah,
is like and what it would be like to do that. So,
yeah. But let's go back. Take me back to high school, Marlowe. Your senior year, you're trying to figure out what it is you want to study. I'm assuming that you enjoy chemistry, but is that the
yeah,
only reason that you chose to study chemistry?
that's one of them. So yeah, so I liked chemistry. I liked physics, and so I was touring different schools, and I didn't know exactly what major I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted it to be in STEM. And I was looking at different majors, and I was really kind of getting interested in green energy and climate change. There was a lot of global warming news in the news, and I actually was touring actually at Alabama, where I ended up going, and I met some grad students that were working on a technology for carbon capture, and I thought that was really cool, and they were in chemical engineering. So
Yeah.
I thought, maybe I'll look into this a little more, and I looked into it, and I realized there's a lot of options with chemical engineering. You can go into a lot of different fields. So I figured, it'd be a really good bet to go with. So went with chemie, and I haven't looked back.
That's cool. Do you think, in terms of picking a college, visiting the colleges was a really important step for you?
For me, yeah, it was. I mean, I was still torn. I was looking a little bit at aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering. I didn't really know. I kind of knew I wanted to do engineering because compared to doing chemistry, it seemed like you had more options to go directly. There were more industry options directly out of college with
Hmm.
engineering. Um, but I wasn't sure until I went to tour the campus, and I kind of met with a few different people from different majors.
Yeah,
That really solidified it for me.
yeah. I think that was really important for me too, because I was also trying to figure out where I wanted to go to school. But after I
Yeah,
visited Tech's campus, I was like, this feels like home. This feels right. So
yeah.
yeah.
It
When
makes a real difference to actually talk to people and to walk around and see what they do
yeah,
versus reading about it online. So,
yeah. And see if you can imagine yourself in the space. Like, can you imagine yourself walking around? For me, it was like Tech Green and sitting uh
yep,
in the student center and stuff like that. So all that was really important.
absolutely. Yeah, just being there, seeing like where classes are and where the
Yeah.
labs are and where the dorms are, and just really getting to meet people.
Yeah.
Like that's critical. So yeah, that'd be my advice to anyone is try and if you can go tour the school because it'll give you a much better idea.
Yeah. When you got to Alabama and you started like doing your classes, I guess past the general, like math and the
Mhm.
general sciences, did you have like a favorite topic in chemie and or a favorite class?
Yeah, I was really drawn more to kind of like the material science side, which is
Okay.
almost there's a whole other major of material science. So
Yeah.
chemical engineering overlaps with a lot of different things.
Hmm.
But so kind of circling back to that project on doing carbon dioxide capture, like really that research was about designing materials that you could use to do carbon dioxide capture.
Yeah.
So I kind of got more into materials, and I took a class on polymers, basically plastics. And so that for me was like my favorite area, and it's actually what I'm doing now in grad school.
Okay.
So
Okay. You mentioned, okay, you said the material science side. So there are multiple different things up under chemi. Could you like name a few off the top of your head?
Yeah, so that's really one central theme of Chemi is that we kind of dabble in a lot of different areas. So of course, chemistry, which is in the name, there's chemistry kind of at the center of everything, but we do a lot of projects that have material science in them. There's a lot of physics. There's
Hmm.
actually a lot of biology if you want to go into things like pharmaceuticals,
Mm.
developing drugs, um, electrical engineering, actually, especially with manufacturing. There's a lot
Okay.
of electrical engineering. So we actually don't do as much chemistry as you might think. We do a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff too. So so yeah, but for me, the part that I really got interested in was this materials, designing new materials to do useful things.
Okay. Okay. And on the flip side of that, did you have a least favorite class or topic?
Yeah, man, my least favorite was probably process control. So process control is like designing systems to like if you want to keep a bath at a constant temperature or like keep it at a constant level or like keep a reactor running. So it's a lot of there's some electrical engineering and a lot of math basically that goes into it. And I don't know, I mean, I got the basics of it, but
Yeah.
I didn't really love that aspect. So I'm
Yeah.
not really doing that so much anymore. But who knows? Maybe I'll have to in the future.
Maybe. You never know. There are a lot of things that I learned that I was like, I probably will never see this again. But on the contrary, I saw it again.
It comes back. So
Yeah.
you pull out those textbooks, like, dang,
Yeah.
that was important in the end.
What do you think the most challenging thing about studying chemical engineering was?
I would say it kind of yeah, I guess into that last bit about kind of the breadth of topics.
Mm.
Like it can seem a little when you look at the courses at first, especially like in your second and third year, it can be a little overwhelming because you're doing a lot of topics, not just in chemistry, but you're doing a lot of math, you're doing sort of some physics, and it's all kind of in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like you're like drinking water out of a fire hose. It's like a lot all at once.
Yeah.
At the beginning, you don't really see how it all connects together, but then like by your senior year, you see, oh, okay, this all kind of fit together um, and it sort of makes sense. So the most challenging thing is just like being okay with all these different things getting thrown at you,
Yeah.
and then at the very end, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah. It always happens at the end where everything
yeah,
clicks. But I remember while I was like in each of the like so many things happening, it was like I can't really connect the dots. But then by the end, it's like, oh wow, it all made sense.
right, yeah. It's weird how that works. I mean,
So weird.
I started off thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a lot of just chemistry, and
Mhm.
this is another one is sort of a misconception about chemi is we really stopped doing chemistry classes after the second year. So
Mm,
it's really more like engineering classes.
yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, in the end, it all kind of makes sense. So,
Yeah. What kind of projects did you do as a chemi undergrad? Or did you have a favorite project that you did?
yeah, I mean, I really well, I got to do some undergraduate research, so I really enjoyed that, where it was sort of kind of on this polymer design, materials design, so making materials that you can use for carbon capture. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And another one was in your senior year, you actually get to do some hands-on work with like chemical processing equipment. So
Mm.
the coolest one for me was we got to operate it's called a distillation column. So it's like this big tube that um you can put chemicals into the bottom and then like distill them off the top. So you could
Okay.
take like um well, a big one is alcohol. So you can distill alcohol and you'll have basically concentrated alcohol on the top.
Hmm.
It's also used for crude oil and stuff. So at
Yeah.
the beginning of the class, we walked up and you see this big like spaghetti mess of like pipes and valves and
Yeah.
like tanks and gauges, and you're like, how am I ever going to understand this? And then at the end of the class, you actually like get to use it and like turn it on and get it running and then turn it off. And that was really cool at the end to be able to like understand it. And
Yeah.
really get uh, appreciation for that. So
Yeah.
that was probably my favorite hands-on, like really chemical engineering um, project.
Yeah, I always love the projects where you get to apply all the knowledge that you've learned, actually do a thing, like either build something or make something run, or like
Yeah,
just in a hands-on way apply all the theory, because so
right.
much at the beginning, I think so much at the beginning of all the STEM majors are just theory. Like
Yeah,
this is what should happen in a perfect world. And then you learn the world is not perfect. So now what do we do?
right.
So
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, it's like that second and third year, you're like, what is this all useful for? And then in your fourth year, you get to kind of put it all together, and yeah, it's very rewarding at the end if you stick with it. But
yeah,
the middle can be a little overwhelming. So
yeah. Middle is always the toughest part to sort through.
for sure, for sure.
You mentioned one misconception. Did you have any more misconceptions about Kimmy, or was that the biggest one?
That was a big one. So one, I guess I have two other ones. So one is so chemical engineering, you'll see that the like starting salaries are pretty good for chemical engineering, which is a lot of the reason why a lot of people start it
Yeah.
um in that major. So I would say, and this kind of gets into what is chemical engineering, but um a lot of the jobs that you get starting out of college in chemie are going to be doing like chemical process um, work or like manufacturing. So
Hmm.
a lot of that is going to be sort of in like suburbs or like more rural places. So you'll get to actually go out and like be like on the plant or
Yeah.
on the site where engineering is getting done. So I didn't realize that like that's if you want to go into industry, like you almost always start there.
Yeah.
Um, so so that would be one misconception I would say is like to do more like lab stuff, it typically happens later in your career, or if you do graduate school, then you start to move more into labs and doing research and stuff.
Yeah.
Such. Um, so that's one misconception that I had. And then another one, people tend to think that engineers aren't very creative. I
Yeah.
think, they think, oh, you're kind of like STEM nerds who just do a lot of
Yeah.
math, solve equations, but actually, like you said, like the real world is not as perfect and clean as the problems in your textbooks make it
Yeah.
seem. So like you really actually have to be really creative when it comes to doing these projects and being a real engineer. So I would say engineers are actually very creative people.
Yeah.
So those are my two
Yeah. I would
misconceptions.
agree. Things
Yeah,
go wrong all the time. And I think the true test of creativity is how can you take this thing that was supposed to be working and now it's not and fix it? Even
yeah,
though you had all these plans for how it was gonna work and now none of
right,
that. So there's a lot of pivoting, which I think does take a lot of creativity.
right. That's why they pay us because
And
we solve
that's
these kind of these problems. So
yes. You mentioned though, for somebody like me who has no idea really the depths of chemical engineering,
yeah,
you said most people after, or if you go straight into industry, you either go into chemical processing or manufacturing. Can you
yeah,
kind
those
of
are big ones. Yeah.
give an overview of what each side does and how they're different?
Um, yeah, so I'll just to be totally honest, I've actually never worked at a chemical plant. I did an
Okay.
internship in manufacturing, and then
Okay.
I went to grad school right after. So I'm not
Okay.
actually a real expert in this, um but yeah, so generally, I mean, in chemical engineering, like a chemical engineer, this is sort of maybe another question. What is a chemical engineer?
Yeah.
Um, a chemical engineer solves problems related to usually production of chemicals,
Hmm.
uh, but also food, drugs, and fuels. So those are kind of the big ones. So in chemical process industry, you might be making um, products that go into things like, like lotions,
Hmm.
toothpaste, paint, um,
Hmm.
household products.
Yeah.
Um, you might also be involved in making food. So there's a lot of just like everyday stuff you'd buy at the grocery store that a chemical engineer was probably responsible for um, for manufacturing. And
Hmm.
then the other one, sort of, yeah, more manufacturing. You could also be involved in not just making like chemicals, um, but other like products. Like I was working in a roofing plant, so we were making it was a polymer roofing that went on the warehouses of like Amazon warehouses, Walmart warehouses. So that was all kind of like plastic processing.
Yeah,
Um, so there's, yeah, there's a lot of manufacturing as well. So those are some really big areas that chemical engineers are really crucial for,
yeah,
uh, because you solve these sort of these basic problems with how to manufacture things.
yeah.
So
Okay,
those are the big ones, I would say.
okay, that makes sense. What do you think your favorite skill or the best skill is that you've gained from studying chemical engineering?
Ooh, favorite skill. Um, yeah, I think the more I've studied chemie, the more I've gotten better at it's sort of weird, but it's just communicating with people from different backgrounds.
Mm.
So like we took this class together in biomedical sensing,
Yeah.
which, that was a really cool experience because, I was sort of using my material side um to think about how to make uh devices that, a biomedical engineer could use with an
Mm.
electrical engineer designing the circuitry
Yeah.
and to kind of, yeah, the longer you study chemie, the more you realize that you have a lot in common with engineers from different backgrounds, and
Mhm.
like together you can solve some pretty cool problems. So
Yeah.
yeah, my favorite skill is sort of realizing, no, it's really not just chemistry, but like, we can work with people to do all sorts of different things.
Yeah, that
So
is true. That's cool. I think you just reminded me that there's like a link there between chemi and biomedical just when we started thinking about the materials that we could
yeah,
put on a person's skin that,
yeah,
going to be compatible with the skin and also with the device that we were building. So it never
exactly.
really dawned on me that a chemi also would think in that direction because electrical engineers sometimes we don't think about the interface between human and device because we're so
Right,
on the device itself. So
right. Yeah, but at some point your circuit needs to, to interface with people, and
yeah,
when you start thinking about materials and you're like, okay, how can I make this soft and
yeah,
comfortable and, get a good signal. So yeah,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
is that was really cool. It was getting to really branch out, and you're not just like doing reactions in the lab all day, but really
yeah,
there's a lot of other stuff too. So
yeah. Good old Patty.
yeah.
Um, you might have touched on this a little bit with the misconceptions, but is there anything you wish someone would have told you before you started studying chemi?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wish, yeah, someone had told me a little bit. I wish I had a video like this to watch and learn about what it really is like. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I mean, I would say what one thing that's really important is to have like a good circle of friends that
Mhm.
you can not only lean on when you need help when you're getting through problems with classes, but also people that you can go hang out with. And I think with STEM, it's important, like it's so intense that it's important to have some balance in your life and to have that other activity and that other group of people that you lean on. So whether you're doing like club sports or um uh some other activity outside with your friends. I think realizing that you're not alone when you're doing these sort of like tough classes and projects.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I would have, yeah, if someone had told me, okay, you're gonna feel like everything is crazy and you're sort of you're dealing with all these tough classes at once, but actually, leaning into your friends is really helpful. Um,
Yeah.
so so yeah, I would say that'd be my other advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, some of those days I don't think I would have made it through without having a good group of friends to be like, I know we
It's
don't
so
feel
important.
like, but
Yeah,
we got to.
exactly.
So, and on just on that note, is there anything else you want to add about Kimmy being a Kimmy student, what it's really like before we move on to this next batch of questions?
Um, no, I mean, I think that kind of covers it. It's a good set of questions.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now we're gonna pivot to some questions that may make you use your imagination a little bit more. Okay.
Okay.
The first one is if you could pick a skill from a different major, what would it be and why? And it doesn't have to be a STEM skill, it can be any skill.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's tough. Hmm. Um, Favorite skill. I mean, I don't know. This is still kind of in STEM, but I'm really amazed by biology and biologists. So
Mhm.
I really wish I had done a little bit more in biology, whether it would be like working with cells or something, because
Yeah.
the reality is, I think like living organisms are so much better at chemical engineering and like making materials than people are. Like
Yeah.
the best engineer is like nature. So if I had done more of that, I think I'd be a better chemie. So I don't know. The skill would be, yeah, like I don't know, like cell culturing or something with cell biology.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
an interesting connection.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, if you think about it, your body is like a big reactor, and it's making food for you, it's keeping you
yeah.
cool, you know, it's creating energy. So we can get
Wow.
a lot from biology.
Yeah.
So
That is really true. Wow. Didn't even think about it like that.
yeah.
What do you think is unique about your perspective as a chemical engineer? So, like when we were working on Patty together, our project in the biomedical sensing classes, what do you think is unique about your perspective as a chemie versus, working with the electrical or mechanical or someone else?
Well, I don't know if it's unique that compared to an electrical engineer or mechanical, but um yeah, I mean just like breaking you learn to be not like scared of a complicated problem
Mm,
and just breaking it down into sort of like a process. Like with our device, we needed to start with some mechanical device that, could sit on your leg. And
yeah,
then we had to figure out how to put sensors on. And then we had to figure out, you know, what the electrical engineers would do to process the signal and analyze it. So just, and I don't know if that's unique to chemie because I think a lot of engineers do this, but
yeah.
just to have some big complicated problem and then sort of break it down. Um, so so yeah, that would be my answer.
Okay, okay. You might have already touched on this a bit too earlier in a different question, but what is a skill that you think all STEM majors should have?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's really like time management, I would say
Oh,
is a big one. So just knowing, how to manage your time through the week, knowing what things you can do to relax and take a break, you know,
yeah,
whether you're in, I think I mentioned like doing a club or doing intramural sports or something, having a good group of friends, and just knowing, uh, how to manage your time, um, especially as you get into like crunch time, like finals time.
mhm.
You do need to sleep, you need to eat food,
Yeah,
uh, you
those
need to
things
hang out with
matter.
other people. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to be human too. So yeah, I would say definitely like time management is a big one.
yeah, that is very true. And even in like an industry job, time management is also very important because I don't know one person that's only working on one project. Like
Yeah,
everybody is working on like multiple different things at once, but everything has its own due date and they're never the same. So being able
right,
to manage your time so that you get everything done, but you also remain a good functioning human being is very important skill.
right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
In 10 seconds or less, 10 seconds ish,
Okay.
why should someone be a chemical engineer?
Yeah, you should be. Where's my stopwatch? I got to start a stopwatch. Um, if you're interested in creating technologies to cure cancer, um, and plastic pollution, stop global warming, stop big global problems, chemical engineering is the degree for you.
That was good. I don't know if it's 10 seconds, but we're gonna say it was.
We're gonna say it's 10. It might have been 15. It might have been a little over.
That's okay. We're gonna go with it was 10.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think those are, I mean, you're in a it's a good place to be in a unique position to go into lots of different fields and solve a lot of big problems. I mean, right now, a lot of countries are we're dealing with this issue with global warming, but also energy prices being high. So, I mean, a lot of that comes down to chemical engineering problems, you know,
Yeah.
how to make green fuels that people can use. So, I think we got a lot of work to do, but I
Yeah.
think we got the tools to solve things.
Yes. Chemical engineers solving big problems, big global problems, because you got to have solutions to those.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
So you graduated undergrad, right?
mhm.
And you decided that you had not had enough school and that you wanted to go back. So
Yeah,
what made you make that decision?
yeah. So I decided to go to grad school when I was doing actually an internship in manufacturing.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, it was interesting and it wasn't easy. You know, there's a lot of different problems you have to deal with when you're doing
Yeah.
manufacturing, um, but yeah, at the end of the internship, I got to visit some labs at that company,
Hmm.
and I really was much more interested by what they were doing in the labs, doing research, developing new products, working
Hmm.
with new materials, and um, and I found out that you basically need to go to grad school to develop some of those skills that you need to use these instruments and to do research and develop these projects. So yeah, I just decided that was what I wanted to do. Um, it's yeah, it's not necessarily a money thing. Like I think you might make more money if you just like went and worked right out of undergrad.
Hmm.
But I just felt like that was a lot more interesting to me. And
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I said, all right, time for more school. So
Yeah. Did you
here I
already
am.
talk about what you did with your manufacturing internship? A little bit, right?
A little bit, yes. We were making it's called TPO roofing. Basically, yeah, it's like this sheet of polymers that go onto big flat roofs. So actually kind of similar to what I'm doing now with polymer processing research. But yeah, so I did that and you know, I wanted to be able to do things like design new materials or create
Yeah.
new products rather than just manufacturing. And for chemies, it's more common to have a graduate degree,
Yeah.
uh, usually a PhD, sometimes a master's, to do really that research and development kind of work.
Yeah. So with the internship on the manufacturing side, you weren't creating the material that they were using. You were more so implementing the material.
Yeah, so I mean, they basically would ship us like this plastic, these pellets that
Mm.
someone had designed, and we were in charge of putting them through a bunch of machines to turn it into the product.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but to develop like a new plastic or a new product, maybe you want to make it biodegradable or higher
Hmm.
performance. That kind of thing happens more in very small pilot plants and
Yeah.
labs. And to work there, usually it's a lot of PhDs working there. So, so I was like, well, I know what I need to do now. So,
Yeah. So share with us a little bit about your graduate journey. How's it been? What type of things have you been working on? And what is your goal post PhD when you're finally Dr. Durbin?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's been good. I've done 4 years and I have one more left. So it'll be year five. And yeah, my project is really on, it's again sort of designing new materials,
Hmm.
sort of this common theme. And the materials that we're trying to do are for basically biomedical devices. So to have like flexible, like electrode materials. So if you want to
Yeah.
put um like a sweat sensor or a blood glucose sensor or even like um, EMG,
Hmm.
some sort of electrical sensor, you want to have like a soft electronic material that can conform well to your skin or
Right.
even your tissue if it's implanted. So we need better materials that are soft and they work in electronics.
Hmm.
So yeah, so my project has been developing new materials for that. Um, so I've had some success, some difficulties. So
Yeah.
I think it's been a challenging but fun project, and you know I've gotten to meet some awesome people from different fields, such as yourself. all the electrical engineers and biomedical engineers who are super important for this. And yeah, and so after I want to go to industry somewhere, and again, do something in research of materials with some application like this. So maybe
Okay.
biomedical sensing or maybe something slightly different, but to really go and be able to work at these companies that are, designing new materials to solve problems. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really cool. And I, if no one else has told you today, think you're great because going the additional 5 years school to get the PhD is fantastic. And
Yeah.
I'm cheering you on all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Yes. So we are in the last set of questions, and I like to call this my lightning round pop quiz. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So
Pop quiz. I was never good at those.
no, this one shouldn't be hard. I'm gonna give you this or that statements, and you can just respond with whichever statement resonates the most in your spirit. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather do a project or a homework assignment?
Project all the way.
Okay. Final project or final exam?
Final project.
Group project or solo project?
Group projects.
Okay. Study solo or study group? Groups or study group, yeah.
Oh, I have to do both, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an answer,
Okay,
but
that's okay.
start solo and then I finish with the group.
Same.
That's,
So
that's
I'll
how I
let
do
that
it.
I'll let that slide, yes.
Okay.
Would you rather ask a professor for help or a TA?
Ooh. Usually the TA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Internships or co-ops?
I would say internships. I like internships.
Okay. Fall semester or spring semester?
Ooh, fall all the way. Gotta get that football in.
Oh
So
yeah. Roommates or no roommates?
roommates for sure.
Yes, I
Roommates.
heard your roommate enjoying the football game, so
Yes, exactly. That's a common theme here.
yes. Last question, which might be a interesting question for you since you're getting your PhD and you're probably in the lab all the time. Would you rather have 8 a.m. classes Monday through Thursday or 5 to 8 lab on Friday?
Oh, probably the 8 a.m. classes because when it hits like 5 on Friday, I don't really want to be on campus anymore. So I can get up early better than stay up super late for the
Yeah.
lab. So I'll just get hungry at that point and want to leave.
Oh yeah.
So
So many things start happening in the afternoon on a Friday, you know?
yeah, exactly.
My brain immediately thinks that there's no more work to be done. So Friday labs would also
Yeah,
be a no-go for me.
yeah, for sure. Like
Yes.
y'all got to put that on an
Yeah.
earlier.
But look, you did great. That was it. So no
Woo!
pass if you passed. How about that? No
I
pass.
passed. Awesome.
Pass. But it did make me think of another one more question. Going into your PhD, because I know some people do like undergrad, masters, then PhD, but you went straight to PhD, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Was there anything about that process that caught you off guard or that you weren't expecting going straight from undergrad to the PhD program?
Um, yeah, so going from in college and undergrad, really when you decide what to do, it's you're picking a major, right? So you're picking a department you want to be in. When you go to grad school, you sort of you're applying less to the grad school and you're applying more to like the professor you want to work with. So
Yeah.
so something that caught me off guard was really you don't really want to just look at the school you're in, but you should start looking at like the professors that are doing the kind of research that you would like to
Mhm.
do. So thankfully it worked out for me because in Chemie, they give you some time to meet different professors, talk to them, talk to other students, and decide like who you want to work with. But some schools you have to know like right away when you
Yeah.
start like who you're going to be with. So yeah, that caught me a little off guard at the beginning.
Okay. And do you know, you didn't do the other way, so you might not know, but do you know what like the biggest difference is between straight to PhD versus master's and then PhD? Like, is it just like a personal choice, or is there some type of logistical difference?
Yeah, there's a few differences. So the big one is you usually, so for a master's you have to pay for it. You have to pay tuition. So it's more expensive, but you can do it more quickly.
Hmm.
So you can do a master's in usually 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, a PhD is usually 4 or 5 years, but you don't actually pay tuition, and they actually pay you a small stipend, so you can pay for like your rent and some food,
Yeah.
like basics. Um, so you don't have to like directly pay tuition, but you also spend a lot of time to do it. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a trade-off. Um, so so yeah, so with doing a master's first in chemie, it doesn't really save you much time. Like it might save you like 1 semester of time on the PhD. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it would be longer to do a master's and a PhD. Um, so it's just quicker to go right in to do the PhD in chemical engineering, at least at Georgia Tech. Now, for different fields, it's different. Like some fields require you to do a master's first.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, different countries have different rules. So in Europe, like everyone gets a master's first.
Yeah.
Um, but here it makes for me it made more sense to go right into the PhD. Um, but there's differences. It is a long time, so it's usually 4.5 or 5 years to do it. Some people can do it in about 4. Sometimes it takes 6 years.
Yeah.
So
Just
yeah,
all depends, huh?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. I'm gonna open the floor for you to give out any last parting words, any advice to general STEM students or, Kimmy specific students. Do you have any parting words of wisdom?
No, I would say that yeah, no matter what you do in STEM, there's a lot of great choices. You have a lot of great career options, and um, yeah, it's surprising, but you can end up going into a lot of different career paths that don't even seem like they fall in your major
Right.
after you get that degree. So so don't feel like, if you decide to become a chemical engineer and you decide that you hate chemicals later on, that you're going to ruin your life, because there are so many different things you can do with it, um, that you're going to have good options no matter what.
Right.
So yeah, I would just say, go with your gut, and if you decide to do chemie, I think it won't disappoint you. So
All right. Yes, those are good parting words. Thank you so much, Marlo. I really appreciate you.
yeah, thanks, Brianna.